I've always wanted to have a grand entrance, but it's probably not something that I need. Good morning, church. It seems like it's been a couple weeks since I've been up here. I want to tell everybody thank you. We had a good vacation. It was something that Lisa and I had been planning on for quite a while and saving up towards. But last weekend when Bob was here, Lisa and I were in Germany, and so we got to go and be very cold, for one. It was actually colder here, but there you were walking around outside all the time. We got to see lots of things, and thank you for helping out my in-laws, taking care of our kids while we were here. They had lots of good stories, and the house was not burned down when we got back, so everything was very good. So we were gone, and then I know last night we had, I think I heard 18 people from here went down and helped out at Forgotten Ministries at the homeless shelter that they have downtown, checking people in, making food, feeding them. And I greatly enjoyed hearing about that. Thank you to everybody who went down and helped out with that. We'll do it again next month. So we had that going on. I know a lot of our prayers and thoughts are with the Long family, with the passing of Jean this last week. I continue to remember them. But there's been a lot of stuff going on this last week. And now here we find ourselves gathering around together this morning because of our faith in God. Because the God who created the entire universe gave us life, and we profess our faith in Him this morning. And so I'm glad to be here and see you guys and see our children as they learn about the story of the birth of Jesus Christ. Don't forget that. As this time of the year, we have lots of hustle and bustle, and I see lots of red and green out there. But also take time to remember that Jesus Christ was God, and He became flesh, just like you and me. Many, many, many years ago, it was a dark night. The wind was blowing. You could probably only hear the flaps of the tent flapping in the wind quietly. There was a light of a candle still burning low. It hadn't burned out yet. And huddled, sleeping, was a young boy. Had his covers around him. In the stillness of the night. And all of a sudden he heard his name. Samuel. So he sat up. He listened. He goes running to Eli and he says, "I heard you calling me." And Eli, the old man, wakes up. Can't hardly see. He's old in age. I didn't call you. If it was something like my house, he'd be like, "Go back to bed." So Samuel goes back to bed. He lays down. "Samuel." Up he goes running. "Here I am, Eli." "Oh, Samuel, I didn't call you. But I tell you what. If you hear it again, say, 'Here I am, Lord. I'm listening.'" Now, I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but churches are these nice, warm places. You have friendly people that greet you all the time during the day. Have you ever been in church at night? They are weird. They make weird noises, weird sounds. I was here. I thought someone was talking, but it was the wind blowing through the chimney over there. Churches are odd at night. If you're Samuel, you got to be thinking, going back, going, "Please don't talk. Please don't talk. Please don't talk. Please don't talk." "Samuel." So he sits up. "Here I am, Lord. Speak." And God proceeded to talk with this young boy about the future plans, about what would happen with Eli and his family. But more specifically, God was talking. God was speaking, and He hadn't done this very much. But there was a problem. You see, Samuel was not Eli's son. Eli had two sons, and they were supposed to carry on their father's work. They were supposed to lead in the temple. They were supposed to be the spiritual leaders. But for some reason, God was talking to a young boy named Samuel. Because there was a problem between Eli and his sons. Eli loved his sons. He loved them tremendously. But the problem was that he loved his sons more than ensuring that they were followers of God. And so in 1 Samuel chapter 2 and 3, chapter 2, verse 12 says this. Very blunt, okay? Hopefully no one ever has to speak this bluntly about us. Now the sons of Eli were worthless men, period. No ifs, ands. Well, they were a little bit shady. No, they were worthless. And it proceeds to tell us about this. You see, Eli's sons, they would help the ladies to church, and then they would help themselves to the ladies. They would help take the offering at church, and then they would help themselves to the offering. You read about these in these verses here. Verse 22, now Eli was very old, and he kept hearing all the things that his sons were doing to all Israel, and how they laid with the women who were serving at the entrance of the tent. And he said to them, why do you do such things? I hear of your evil deeds from all the people. No, this is not a good report. So Eli would scold his children, yes. But he didn't ensure that they were learning and taking in the things of God. And so that night, when God calls Samuel, he tells Samuel, I am going to end the lineage of Eli. And so we find other verses here. A man was sent to Eli, and chapter 2, verse 29, he says, why do you scorn my sacrifices and my offerings that I commanded you, and honor your sons above me? See, Eli loved his sons, but he loved them more than he loved making sure they knew the things of God. And this would lead to their downfall. And so God says, I promise that your house and the house of your father should go in and out before me forever. That's the promise that he made to Eli. You, your children, forever will serve me. I promise this. And then he says, far be it from me. For those who honor me, I will honor, and those who despise me, I will despise. Now, if you're Eli, you're going, wait, God, you promised that my people, but my family would always follow. You can't break your promise. You're God. No, you misunderstand. I'm God. I can break my promise because I'm God. You see, it was an if-then. If you follow me, then your people will always serve me. But they're not, and so I'm going to end this. So we're in Proverbs. What does Proverbs have to do with this story? Because we're talking about family today and parenting today. Now, for those of you who are parents and you have parenting figured out and it goes perfectly planned all the time, I'm going to pause now and I'll let you leave. I think you guys are all pretty wise people. Raise your hand if parenting is hard. Taking care of children is hard, whether you are parents, whether you're teachers, anybody who has been involved with children knows that taking care of children is hard. Case in point, we had the Christmas play going on half an hour ago. I think my favorite moment was we had I think it was a sheep and a shepherd who were Little children are wonderful, but taking care of them is difficult. And Proverbs talks about these family dynamics. What do we need? How do we take care of these younger? How do we pass faith on to those who are younger than us? And so, as parents specifically, take notes. But maybe you're some of those people who are saying, well, we have 2 kids, and their names are Fido and Fluffy. We're not going to have kids. That's okay. There are people who are younger than you around. This is for everybody, not just for those who have children. You have children, you have grandchildren, you have neighbors. Everybody is around children, and they need to look up to people who are older than them and get an example of who God is, what God is. God calls himself a father because it's a parent. And so that gives us an idea of what God should be. He should be like that loving parent, but he should also be that disciplining parent. And so for those of us that had good parents, that helps us. Some of us did not have good parents. And so we read, God's our Father. Ugh, I'm not sure I like that. And we have this image of this lightning bolt coming down to strike us because maybe our parents were like that. So as we go through Proverbs today, I have some verses picked out that talks about what parenting should look like from a godly perspective, from a wisdom perspective. So the first thing that we're going to do is look at this. The difference between building a house and building a home. Building a house and building a home. Now, most people at some time or other have played this comparison game about whose house is bigger than whose house, or their house is bigger than mine, or smaller, or what kind of house, if this magnificent, this is. None of that matters. When you're talking about a home, the place where we live, the place where we dwell, the place where we feel at peace, that is full of love and compassion and caring. When you fall down and when you skin your knees, you remember running to that person that provided the comfort. As a father, I was an acceptable replacement for a mom on certain occasions. If my kids fell down and hit their knee, they would come running to me. But I remember vividly this one time, fall down, scrape his knee, I'm like, oh, are you okay? He goes to mom. Okay, that's fine. But a home is that place that has that nurturing relationship, regardless of the size, regardless of carpet, regardless of windows that are broken or cracked or not. None of that matters when it comes to building a home. Proverbs chapter 24. Proverbs chapter 24, verses 3 and 4 says this. By wisdom, a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge, the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. Now, I know some of us are builders. Where's Wayne? Wayne, where are you at? I saw you here. He's sitting out there. All right. Wayne has built houses. I know Alan does handiwork. I've done handiwork. Lots of people have done work on building houses. And it takes wisdom, and it takes about 5 runs to Lowe's for every project that you have. Because you would think, I need this wrench and this wrench. One of those will work. No, it's the middle wrench. So you have to make lots of runs to Lowe's, which always involve extra tools that you have to have. It takes wisdom to build a house. To put those nails together, to put the sheetrock up, to mud it together. But a house is just a house until it gets filled. You ever walk through just an empty house? I mean, it might be a nice house, but you go inside, and if there's nothing inside, it's cold. Like, oh, this is what we could do. We could put paintings and pictures here, or we could put cabinets and things here, and you fill it with life, with laughter. And you think, this is when we have guests, we can come and we can gather around here and we can share life stories together. This is the corner that when the kid gets in trouble, we'll put him in that corner over there. Because every house needs one of those. But a home is something that is filled, and it's not just a house. Turn to Ephesians chapter 5. It talks about the relationships that are found in a home. Ephesians chapter 5 in the New Testament. Chapter 5 and 6, they talk about some of these relationships. And so I'll pick out some of these verses that we have here. Talk about the relationships found in a home. Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. Verse 25, husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her. Chapter 6, verse 1, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Let me repeat myself. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. Now, am I just talking about kids? Raise your hand if you're a child. So let me repeat. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. Whether or not you're 5, 10, 30, 80, honor your father and mother. And one of the things that I enjoy about North Garland is we have several families that are 3 or 4 generations. And don't do this in a creepy way, but watch those relationships, okay? Just sit back, kind of watch those. Who should I pick on? The Owens. Watch those families that have multiple generations. See how they interact with one another. Jamie? As we treat each other with love and respect, how do we interact with our parents? Do we treat them with that honor and respect? It's difficult to raise children. It's difficult to have these relationships, but it is good. Moving on, a house. Here's one. A house might have a man cave, but a home has a man who caves to the needs of his family. A house might have a man cave. Man cave, this is where I go to get away from my family. I put all my manly stuff in there. A house might have a man cave, but a home will have a man who caves to the needs of his family. Not to his own wants and desires, but to the needs of his family. But that's not manly. Men don't cave. We're strong. We don't have to consider the others. We don't have to give ourselves up like, oh, you mean like Jesus Christ did? Who's our ultimate example? Christ. Remember those verses we read in Ephesians? Love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for the church. There's a lot of responsibility that goes into that, gentlemen. So there's a big difference between building a house and building a home. Next one. Godly living is caught more than taught. Godly living is caught more than taught. Now, don't hear me as saying we don't have to teach it. You have to teach it, but you also have to show it. Okay? It's one of those things, our actions and our words. And we have this great phrase, do what I'm telling you and not what, do what I say and not what I do. Because we have to do both. We have to say and we have to do. Spiritually speaking, we have faith and we have works. So Proverbs chapter 24 says this, verses 3 and 4. Nope. Proverbs 3. There we go. Proverbs 3, verses 1 through 4. It says, my son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments, for the length of days and years of life, and peace they will add to you. Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsaken you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart, so that you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man. Right here, these words that he says, bind them around your neck and write them on the tablet of your heart. Did you pay attention to the words that Adam read at the beginning from Deuteronomy 6? This is one of the greatest teachings for the Jewish people. It's called the Shema from Deuteronomy 6. And he talks about, when are you supposed to teach these things? The Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your might. And these words that I command you today shall be written on your heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Talk about them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and frontlets between your eyes. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Now the Jewish people took this literally. And they would wear these little boxes that had scriptures in them on their arms and their heads. And they would write them literally on their doorposts. I was door knocking one time, and we went up to this house and knocked, and all of a sudden I realized that right here they have the Shema written on their doorposts. It's in Hebrew. And so they come to their door, and I said, oh, I like the Shema that you have written here on your doorposts. Are you Jewish? And they said, oh, no, we just bought the house. What is that now? And I went, oh, well, it's scripture that's written on your doorpost. Oh, that's weird. I always thought it just looked kind of cool. Hopefully we take God's word, and it's something more than just cool teachings for life, but it's something that we ingrain in our mind, in our hearts, and that we can teach and pass on. But it comes down to more of our actions than the words that we say. You see, Eli had his children, and he brought his children to church. He brought them to the temple. They helped with the sacrifices. They went to church. He taught, but they didn't catch what it meant to have faith. And in the end, it cost them their life. Their lives. They were killed. And so when it comes to us living our life, do you love God? Parents, do you pray? Let me ask you this. Do your children know that you pray? Do your children know that you pray? How much do they know that you pray? What do you pray about? Do they know these things? Do your children know that you pray for them? Or that you pray for the Long family? Or that you pray for people who are being persecuted? Or you pray for our military who are fighting? Do we pray for those people? Do our children know it? What, Dad? You pray, but you're like 6'10" and you can do anything you want in the world. Why do you need to pray? I need to pray because there's a God who's bigger than me. And I humble myself before Him. So I want to encourage you. Husbands and wives, pray together. Pray with friends. If you go on a vacation together, plan those adventures, plan those sightseeings, and your friends might think it's weird, but some of you say, hey, could we take some time and pray together on, Friday night? What are we doing? What's this vacation? What are we doing? Well, I think it'd be good to pray together. Try it sometime. It's caught more than taught. Teaching. There's a lot of teaching that goes on here at church for our young people. In our Sunday school classes, Adam teaches, but it's not their responsibility to teach our kids. Whose responsibility is it? Yeah, parents. It's your responsibility. It's not Adam's job. He helps out with it but it's your responsibility. Talk about these things when you're at home, when you lie down, when you wake up. Hopefully Adam's not there when you're lying down and waking up. That'd be bad. Parents, it's your responsibility. It's not Sunday school teachers. The church can come alongside and support and encourage. But it's not the church's responsibility. This is family things that are going on here. One of the things, children need to have more emphasis on GOD than MVP or GPA. More emphasis on GOD, which spells God, than MVP or GPA. What's the first question? Kid comes home from school. You pick him up or whatnot. What's the first question you ask? How's your day? And what do they say? Fine. I don't know. You have any homework? No. That's funny. You didn't have any homework yesterday in Spanish either. Yeah. Or the day before, but you have an F in Spanish. I don't know. Are you sure you don't have any homework? It's not even a word. I don't know. Kids ever talk to you like that? They're playing video games. Time for dinner. And so what do you do as a parent? All right, give me your backpack. Give me your sheet. Let me see what homework you really have. And then you pull them down and you set them down and you say, oh, there's homework. And they go, huh, I think it's there. That's right, do it. Yep, do it. I'm going to work on that English class too. In no education system do we just say, all right, go off for an hour and then you're done. But sometimes when it comes down to our spirituality, that's what we do. How are we going to intentionally teach our children about faith? Well, we'll bring them to church once a week. It takes a lot more than once a week to teach and train younger generations about God. And I'm not talking just about children here. I'm talking about adults too. It takes a lot. We're talking about eternity, not just GPA during high school that might help us get $10,000 scholarship for college. That's important. That's good. Wait, but my kid goes to school five times a week and they're for 6 hours a day. You need me to spend more time on God than that? Maybe. But maybe it's not just hour for hour, time for time, but your kids, the younger generations, have to know that faith is more important than any trophy that might come. Does this out in the open more at home than the trophies? I hope so. Because they have to know that faith is more important. Next thing, every child needs consistent consequences, not empty threats. We talked about the horrible English that our children sometimes have. Well, sometimes parents have really bad language too. Do you hear something? No. Yeah. But I've been yelling at you for 3 minutes. What do you mean? Maybe it's because we haven't gotten consistent consequences and we just give empty threats. And so they can tune us out. They can ignore us. This is how you know when somebody is new to Enid. Did you hear that? What is that noise? Oh, these planes are so loud. What? Oh, yeah. I finally gotten there. I'm used to these airplanes now. Until they fly really low. That's the only time I ever noticed it anymore. But when I first moved here, goodness, every 10 minutes I couldn't think. But now I've gotten to where it's normal. I've tuned out this loud noise that happens. Consequences involve discipline. Proverbs chapter 19. Chapter 19, verse 18 says this, discipline your son. And it might not say daughters, but daughters. Discipline your son, for there is hope. Do not set your heart on putting him to death. What it's saying here is that by disciplining, you will save your child. You will save your child. Maybe literally from death because of discipline. Children need to know, they need to know that choices have consequences. Whether they are good results, rewards, or bad. People have got to learn that if I behave a certain way, certain things will happen. If I behave in bad ways, bad things will come my way. If good ways, then most likely good things will come my way. But remember, these are proverbs, not promises, right? Proverbs, not right. And so the proverbs may say, maybe the famous one of all, train up your child in a way and they will not. Right. Train your child up in the right ways and they will not depart from that. That's what the proverb says. If it was a promise, it'd be a guarantee. It's not a promise. It says most of the time, 90%, 95%, if you train up a child in the right ways, then they will not depart from those ways. But we all know that, yes, sometimes there's the bad apple or whatnot. You might have 4 kids, you raise them up, and 3 of them do great, but 1 doesn't. We all know that person who lucks out and wins the lottery, and they're the laziest person in the world. Most time, laziness, you're not going to have the finances. Hard workers will have finances. That's what Proverbs says. But we all know that lucky person, okay? Proverbs, not promises. Train up a child, discipline a child, and they will learn the things that they need to. A lot of our discipline now has become empty threats. I'm going to ground you for the rest of your life. Well, eventually you're going to die, Dad. True. We learned these things too. Don't punish your children in ways that will punish you. Okay? We're all going to go to a movie on Saturday. We're going to go see the new Star Wars movie. Awesome! And then your child does something. If you do that again, you're not going to go to that movie. Wait. I can't leave my kid at home by himself, which means that I'm going to miss that movie, and I'm punishing myself. Let's think this through a little bit more. But children need consequences. Right, guys? I like to look at my own kids. We need consequences, and God has given us consequences as well in His Scripture, in His words. Because He wants to not just punish us. He's not Zeus sitting up there with a lightning bolt, kind of waiting for us to miss that. Wham! Got another one! No, He puts these rules in place to protect us mentally, to protect us spiritually, to protect us for eternity, to protect our marriages, to protect our families, our relationships. God's not sitting there going, I wonder how complicated I could make their lives really be. If He wanted to do that, He could have made us with 1 leg. He didn't. God is sitting here going, I'm putting things in place to help you because I love you. I care for you. I want to have a relationship with you. It leads to the last one. Rules without relationship leads to rebellion. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 11. Says, my son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, or be weary of His reproof. For the Lord reproves him whom He loves, as a father the son in whom He delights. We've probably all been in a situation at some point or another where somebody is doing something they shouldn't. And we don't know that person, we have no connection with the person, and so we, at that point, get the opportunity to look and go, man, I'm glad I don't have a relationship with that person. Otherwise, I would have to step into that. That's really what we're saying is that, wow, somebody needs to put that person in their place. With children, sometimes you hear this, wah! And I'll be honest, I've gone, ooh, that's not one of mine. Is it a little selfish? Maybe. I'm not saying I'm glad that your child is crying. I'm just happy it's not mine this time, because it'll probably be mine next time, and that's okay. But when it's mine, I go, I'd love to finish this conversation, but I have a responsibility to go take care of it. And so I set myself aside, and I go take care of my responsibility. Because I have a relationship, I have a connection with my family. So rules without relationship leads to rebellion. Which is easier to do? Say something encouraging or say something discouraging? Discouraging. It's a whole lot easier to pick out the negative things. I mean, It just comes natural for people for some reason. I mean, some of us are good at saying encouraging things, but the stop that, don't do that, those come out a whole lot faster and easier for adults as well. You're driving down the road, you have a horn right there in the middle of your steering wheel. Why? So you can say, stop that! We like to be able to use that and tell people you're not doing something you're supposed to be doing. Okay? And I don't know what the stats are. There's different numbers that say, this amount is this amount. But it takes a whole lot more encouraging things to cover up the discouraging things. Whether someone said it's 7-1 or 10-1 or 20-1, somebody tells you something negative, and it's going to replay in your mind over and over and over and over again, even if it's in jest. You ever notice that? Oh, you got a haircut, didn't you? Maybe you should look at a different place. Sarcastic, being a joke, you know it. But what are you going to do? Maybe I do need to go to a different place. I don't know. It seems normal. Maybe it's in the back. I can't tell. And it replays. But how do you feel when you get that encouraging note? You open up the mail and you get a handwritten note in the mail. Not one of those fake ones. Have you seen those fake handwritten notes? It's like printed on a sticky note. You're like, oh man, this is a handwritten note. And you rip it open and it's like your insurance company. You're like, wait, that's printed on there. That's not handwritten. Talking about a real handwritten note, a birthday card, a Christmas card. It just makes you go, oh, somebody likes me. Yes! Say more encouraging things than discouraging things. When it comes to people who they're just super excited to tell you about something that you don't care about in the world. I've got to tell you about, let's see, what's something that I don't really care about? Sewing! I've been working this whole weekend on sewing this thing together. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Tell me about it. But as a friend, as a person with a relationship, you say, oh, tell me about it. That's interesting. That's neat. I know how to play Pokemon. Legitimately play Pokemon with the cards, okay? You know why? Because I've got kids that play Pokemon. And they come and say, Dad, will you play Pokemon with me? And I go, yes, let's do it. And I don't always feel like that. And sometimes I have to say, you know what, I'm busy right now. I've got some things to do. But I guarantee, if I didn't care about my kids, I wouldn't know how to play Pokemon. And that's okay. But I take time. Now, what's funny in our house is that our kids like to build things with Legos, and they know not to go show Lisa. Because Lisa started pointing out to them, every time they bring a Lego creation, look at this Lego creation I made, Mom! There's like this sphere of about 5 feet around Lisa that Legos just fall apart. And you think I'm joking. No, Lisa actually says, now wait, remember what happened last time you showed me your Lego creation? And they're like, I made this vehicle over here. It actually rolls. Don't come any closer, Mom. It might fall apart. See? Look. But it's because they want to have that connection. They want to have that relationship. And it's our responsibility, if we want to have a relationship with them, to say, tell me about it. Show me. That's awesome. That's neat. Isn't this kind of like the one you made last time and the week before? Yeah, but it's different. It's a different color. That's awesome. I love your creativity. And the same thing applies to any relationship that we're going to maintain. Any relationship, children, teenager, adults, family, friends. If you're going to have a relationship, you've got to maintain that connection. And it's hard work. God himself wanted to maintain a connection with his children, with his people. And so he sent Jesus Christ, who we just had this play about, because he wanted a connection with his children, with us. I can't imagine how many times, if I was in God's place, and somebody came in prayer, God, I just need to tell you about, again? And yet he doesn't do that. He says, tell me your cares. Bring me your burdens. Share them with me. I want to know, and I will be with you. But it's an if then. If you follow me, I will be with you. Let us not be like Eli, who didn't care enough to pass on what faith is really about. Let's pray. Father God, you're a great God. I thank you for the words of wisdom that you've given us in the book of Proverbs, so we can take these and we can apply them to our lives. We can apply them to our relationships. We can apply them to friendships, to family, to finances, to everything in our life. And I pray that you give us the courage and the fortitude to do the things that we should. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. We're going to sing a song. If anyone has a prayer request or something they want to make known to the church, our elders will come forward. We'll pray together. Build a relationship. We'll pray together. If somebody wants to be baptized today, put Christ on in baptism, then let's do it while we stand together and sing this song.